Hello, welcome to 3D Printing for Geoscientists. My name's Cody, and I'm going to give you a quick tutorial on how to use the Draw tool over here. And so the first one up is the 2-point rectangle, and it's pretty straightforward. You can just click the location of your first point, and then you drag your cursor to wherever you want the second point to be. If you keep your cursor on this pink-purple line right here, you can force it into a square. Alternatively, you can drag it across to make a rectangle in that direction, however you feel. You can also manually implement numbers to determine the length. For example, if I wanted a 50 by 40 rectangle, I could just type 50 by 40 and I can force it into those dimensions. Don't forget you have a series of tools over here. And so this first example, I did a 2D surface. This next one, I'm going to do a wall. However, you have to specify the width of your wall right here in the options, as well as where this measurement is made. And so this time I'm just going to draw a square. So I'd follow the diagonal, and I click again. And now I have a square with a 2D wall. I can do the same with a 3-dimensional cube, where I will need an isometric view. Oh, that's a bit too far out. Where I will click and drag the 2 points, and then I drag the third for the height. I can also specify the height. Say I want 50 millimeters. I can type in the 50, hit enter, and now I have a cube of whatever dimensions you want. You can also do something similar with a 3D surface or a 3D shape that converges to a singular point. So I will draw a 50 by 50 square that comes up to another 50. And now I have this pyramid shape. I can do something similar. Let me just get rid of some of these. Okay. I can do something similar with a wall. So you can go through, click, and now I have this shape. And I can also put a shape in another shape by using this third option. So you can see I now have this square within this surface. All right. Now I'm going to move on to the 3-point rectangle. And in this particular shape, you click the first point, and then you click the second point of that same line, and then you can drag the width out. And so in this instance, this tool, the difference between this and the 2-point is this allows you to draw rectangles that are not at a right angle to your orientation in your build. For example, I can put this rectangle at this angle, but with this one, I have to put it at this angle no matter where I put it. So that's the major benefit of using the 3-point over the 2-point. So now we're going to move into making polygons. Polygons have the same general options as the rectangles. However, you also have to specify, let's pull this down a little bit more. You have to specify the number of segments in your polygon. So initially I have a 3-point polygon selected. And so I'll click the center point and drag out, and I have a radius that I can specify. So let's specify 10 millimeters. And now I have a triangle where the center point is 10 millimeters away from the edge points. I can do the same thing with a square by just coming over here and either clicking the square, or I can specify the number by putting that number in here. Say I want something strange like 15. I can then go in, click, and it's kind of hard to tell just because of how small those line segments are. But I have 15 line segments around this polygon now. And so you can do the same thing that you can with the rectangle. Say I want a polygon that, let's go with a pentagon, that converges to a point. I can click, make my pentagon, and then when I drag up, I have a pyramid shape with the pentagon base. So now I have a 5-sided pyramid. All right, let's get rid of those. And now you can do the same thing with a circle, where you draw a 2-point circle, where the first click is the center point of the circle. You can then drag your cursor, or you can specify a radius at the top of whatever size you want your circle to be. And because I still have the 3-dimensional converging to a point option selected on that right side with the tool options, I can now specify a circular pyramid with that height. So now I made a cone. I can also make a normal circle just by selecting that option, and I can make a hollowed out circle with that one. All right, so clear this again. And so now I'm going to, instead of making a circle with the center point selected and then the edge as the second click, I'm going to do opposite sides of the circle with the first click and second click. So I can click here, and I can specify the diameter rather than the radius in this way. I still have that the walled surface selected, so I'm going to make that shape. But if I go into here and make a 2D surface, I do the same. Now I can move into a 3-point circle, in which I click here, then I click another point. And this one is a little bit hard to describe. It has to be a little more intuitive. The best way I can describe using this tool is just practice with it. It's kind of strange, and I would definitely prefer using one of these two options instead. Okay, let's get rid of that one again. All right, and now we can make an ellipse in one of two ways. The first way, you click the bottom edge of the ellipse, you go to the center point of the ellipse, and then you drag out for the width. Keep in mind, you can also manually enter these numbers. So I want this axis length to be, no, let's go with 50 millimeters. And now I can make this second axis to be, let's go with 30. And now I have a 50 by 30 for the radius of this ellipse. Oh, I didn't want to move those. All right, so get rid of these. And so for this next one, we're going to make the, go away. So for this next one, we're going to use this option, where once again, you're still making the ellipse, but instead of the second click being the middle, the second click is now the opposite edge of the main axis. So I can just drag and drop, and now I can click or manually enter this one as well. Okay. Let's specify. So I click here, and now you see I have this weird rectangular shape because it has a wall width. However, I haven't given it an axis length yet in the opposite axis. So let's go with specifying 50 in this one. And then let's make this one 75 to make this the wider axis. Nope. Oh, there it goes. All right. That has been a brief tutorial on how to use the draw function. Up next, I will show you how to do a brief tutorial on the shapes options.